just for driving safely. To me, that's a slam dunk. Download the Nodak Insurance app today.
It's the Cash for Cars event at Gateway Chevrolet. All makes, all models. Sell your ride today. Whether it has 50,000 miles or 150,000 miles, Gateway Chevrolet will buy it. Cars, trucks, and SUVs get cash today. Gateway Chevrolet needs good, clean, used cars, trucks, and SUVs. Sell your ride today, whether it has 50,000 miles or 150,000 miles. Gateway will buy it. The Cash for Cars buying event today at Gateway Chevrolet in Fargo.
KQWB, West Fargo, Fargo-Moorhead, and KPFX, HD3 Kindred, Bison 1660. Powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
And here's what you need to know.
The Lakers took a 3-1 series lead on the Grizzlies as they made a late surge in the fourth quarter to force overtime and ultimately win 117-111. LeBron James finished with 22 points, 20 rebounds, and 7 assists. Jimmy Butler set a Heat playoff record, scoring 56 points as Miami came back from down 14 in the fourth to beat the Bucks 119-114. Heat now lead the series 3-1. In baseball, reports say the Pirates and outfielder Brian Reynolds have agreed to an 8-year extension worth more than $106 million. It's the most guaranteed money in Pirates franchise history. Michigan football announced they've altered their home-and-home series with Texas. The Wolverines will now host the Longhorns in 2024, and the teams will meet again in Austin in 2027. The change made to allow Texas to leave the Big 12 early. And in the Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur players will refund fans that traveled to their blowout loss at Newcastle on Sunday. I'm Nick Cope.
This is The Insiders, taking you inside the lines and behind the scenes of NDSU and around the region.
I hang heavy on your thoughts because you are the Bison gods.
That should be a penalty.
The Insiders.
Do you have any other questions?
You know it.
The Insiders are presented by Proseed. Need seed? Think Proseed.
Okay, so what are you saying?
These guys do an unbelievable job, and tune into the Insiders.
I did have one. I do not apologize for taking it out of the six-pack.
First thing you should know about us is that we have people everywhere.
The Insider. The Insider. The Insider.
The prices were that shocking. I wasn't listening. I'm an old soul.
Now, here are the Insiders.
Well, we're waiting.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are split screen today, and we are live from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I hope you can hear me, mainly for Kyle Emanuel's sake, so he doesn't have to open up the show today. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota for Bison baseball. It is a Bison game day with the baseball squad taking on the Minnesota Golden Gophers later this evening at 6 p.m., 5:45 pregame right here on Bison 1660. Kyle back in our Thorough Ethanol broadcast studio along with the one and only Micah Bindi. Kyle, can you hear me today?
We got you loud and clear, Andy.
Okay.
And,
there we go.
I was ready, though. I was going to start breaking down. We know what the people want. They've gotten it the last 2 days. I was going to start breaking down this Game 5 for the Wild versus Stars. But, fortunately we can hear you. So we're excited to have you on.
Well, don't worry. We will get your breakdown of Wild Stars Game 5.
Well,
that will still happen.
I might have been embellishing there a little bit. I might not have actually had a breakdown prepared, but I was gonna wing it.
Yeah, well, that's as well as you can do, right? That's when Kyle Emanuel's at his best, when he's just playing free. And also, a winger is a position for hockey. There you go. You could have just used that. That's in your next breakdown. The wingers got to be good. Got to activate the wingers.
It's a wing, right?
Well, yeah. Well, when you got multiple left and right, you call them the wingers. You could. At least some people do. So.
I don't. This sounds made up. I'm not a hockey guy, but this sounds made up.
Hockey, most of it sounds made up. At some point, everything was made up. So there you go on that one. A great show ahead for you over the next couple of hours. I am live in Minneapolis, and Kyle back there in Fargo as we got Bison baseball later. Really looking forward to having our first Bison baseball game on the air. We were hoping it was going to be last week. we all knew that wasn't going to happen probably a while back with the snow and all the storms we've had in Fargo. So that was unfortunate that ORU series got moved. The Bison dropped 2 out of 3 to the Golden Eagles. Chance to bounce back here against the Golden Gophers in the midweek. Second game Bison baseball has had this season where they have faced Minnesota, trying to even up the season series with the Golden Gophers. Lost the earlier meeting this season, which was a back-and-forth affair. The Bison had the lead in the later-ish stages of that one, but they lost 12-9 in a high-scoring one down here in Minneapolis. That was back on April 11th, and trying to win this one and even up the season series with the Golden Gophers. We'll give you a little preview of that one later on in the program. Also today, it is the Missouri Valley Mix at 11:30. We will continue that look, and spring ball wrapping up. Obviously, it's wrapped up for NDSU and really for everybody in the conference now at this point. But catch up with some of the folks from around the conference this week. We'll talk Missouri State, maybe the most disappointing team in the Valley and maybe even in the country last season, as they were preseason top 5. I think I even had them in like top 3 or 4 last year, and they didn't even come remotely close to making the playoffs. So Wyatt Wheeler will come on at 11:30, and we'll talk some Missouri State. Yeah, and we got to imagine. I haven't kept up with their roster, at least so far this offseason. But I mean, they've always been a team with a ton of transfers. Their head coach is gone, so it's an interesting team. Are they gonna? I think the biggest question is, are they gonna kind of revert back to the Missouri State that we knew when I was playing, where they were just kind of no disrespect, but they were a little bit of a doormat in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Now all of a sudden they came on, as you mentioned, they had a really good year 2 years ago, and then last year all the expectations just didn't handle it. So what's that next step for them? So I'm excited to talk to Wyatt. Yeah, Ryan Beard taking over as the head coach there. See Bobby Petrino moving on, and moved on a couple of times to UNLV, and then going to the SEC now. So he's no longer the head coach. Kind of a changing of the guard there. They got talented players. It's just, can they actually put it all together? And when you're dipping a lot into the transfer portal, sometimes it doesn't quite work that way. Some years it's great. Some years you kind of hit the lottery, and some years it's like you got against a bunch of guys you just don't really gel together, or it just doesn't work. And that seemed to be what it was a season ago for the Bears. So Wyatt Wheeler on at 11:30. Also later today at noon, we'll have Mark Willard of 95.7 The Game out in San Francisco on the program, as we are just a couple of days away from the NFL Draft. All the Trey Lance rumors. Obviously, Trey was here last weekend and taken in the final spring practice and seeing his brother Bryce as well, and I'm sure some other family members while he was here. But man, there's a lot of rumors, and there's a lot of things circulating. And obviously, there's already been one quarterback traded. That one was yesterday. We'll dive on that in just a little bit with Aaron Rodgers. But Mark Willard will come on at noon. Is there any truth? And he would know. He's out there, obviously, a little bit closer to the source than we are here in Fargo. But is there any chance that Trey is not a 49er when the season starts? And what would it take, does he think, to pry Trey out of the Bay? And those are some questions a lot of fans are asking, and I think some NFL teams are even asking right now if it's worth it to get Trey, or maybe to trade up to get one of these rookie quarterbacks in this year's draft. Yeah, and I think we've touched on this. I think, in my opinion, and obviously we'll get some more answers later on the show, but it almost seems like they just want to kind of dip their toe in their water. We talked about this, when this news first broke, and it's like, yeah, we're a little bit interested. We'll take your calls. We'll see what happens. But as Micah so well pointed out, they're kind of sitting there saying, and they worded it perfectly, right? Like they worded it the way they wanted to word it, so that there's like, if the trade doesn't happen, like we still liked Trey, but we were also fielding calls. So I would guess there is some truth to these rumors. Now, how serious they are, that's what we have to kind of find out, because I am still of the mindset they're going to keep him. I think they'd be crazy not to, unless someone just wants to come in and sell the farm for Trey Lance, and then maybe it makes sense. But if you're not going to get much for him, I don't see why you would move on at this point. And I tend to agree with you, which brings up the question of what would it take? What is enough? If you're not going to get much for him, well, what is much to San Francisco at this point? And would they be willing to trade him for a second-round pick or a third? Or, what is that got-to-have-it price? And we'll ask Mark Willard that coming up later today at noon. A lot, looking forward to that. I think there's some possibility the 49ers could be in on Hunter Lipke, our good friend Matt Miller, who we had on the show last week from ESPN. Actually see him on the TVs here at the hotel, but He had his mock draft, his 7-round mock draft, come out earlier this week, just a couple of days ago, and I retweeted this on my Twitter account as well, at Andy on the AM. But Matt Miller had Hunter Lipke in the 6th round going to the San Francisco 49ers as basically the replacement for Kyle Juszczyk. So, is that someone that Mark Willard, would the 49ers be interested in the next Kyle Juszczyk, as he has so often been compared to the 49ers as a current fullback?
I think they should be. I think they'd be crazy not to be. And he mentioned there, I saw the article that you tweeted out there, Andy, that Kyle Juszczyk's 33 years old. He's probably still got maybe 1 or 2 years left, but is he still the same exact player? And if you really value that position and the versatility that he brings, why wouldn't you go after a Hunter Lipke? I mean, it's not like if you're the 49ers, it's not like you're not drafting him in the first, second round. Like, you can get him later. You can get a really good value there. And maybe if you still want to hang on to Juszczyk for a year or two, Lipke can obviously roll in as well. But he's, as we've talked about at length, he's still going to give you a lot of value there, playing special teams, coming in on certain different packages. I think it makes perfect sense. I think, and it's obvious, right? But when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, I don't think there's another team that it makes more sense for, unless they're running the, I know there's a couple other teams that run the exact same system, but with Kyle Shanahan and what he likes to do with the fullback position, it makes perfect sense. And I would not be shocked at all if they go and grab, especially if he's sitting there 5th, 6th round, he's still not drafted, which I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but if he's not and they don't go grab him, I think they're a little bit off the rocker.
I think Hunter Lipke would fit with a lot of teams out there, and I think there are some teams that are starting to go that direction. What was that?
I said, yeah, he would definitely fit a lot of teams, but like the 49ers, in my opinion, make the most sense. But he could fit anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I agree with you. Like, if there's a team I could pick him going to, it would be San Francisco. It would be the 49ers. I think that fits, extremely well, not just because I think he has the same tool set as Kyle Juszczyk, and he could replace Kyle Juszczyk, but that's what the 49ers do. Like, it's power running, and even though Brock Purdy was really special for the last 2 months of the season, there was very few times, I should say. There were a couple of times where he was really, really good, but most of the games it was like, okay, he was good, but they ran the ball. And they got Christian McCaffrey, and they got this power running game, and then you hand it off to this guy and Debo and all these other pieces in the backfield, and if you add a Hunter Lipke to that, I think that would be a great addition to it. I think of the Baltimore Ravens as another team he would fit mightily with right away, because they love to run the football, and they've got a little bit of a power running scheme to them just a bit. I think the New York Jets are a sneaky team that could be in on him, not just because Saquon Barkley might be on the way out, because Hunter Lipke is not replacing Saquon Barkley, but I think Brian Daboll wants to be able to run the football. I think they know that Daniel Jones is a very good quarterback, but has some slight limitations. We don't quite want to get to the point of just chuck the ball all over the place and throw it here and there and everywhere. I think the Giants could fit a little bit. I keep my eye open for the Miami Dolphins. I tend to think the Dolphins really want to just throw the ball because you have Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, but Mike McDaniel from San Francisco maybe brings that same philosophy, wants to get a little bit more multiple in the running game a bit, and obviously Hunter Lipke could provide you some of that stuff there. But the 49ers, I would agree with you, Kyle, make the most sense. We'll get Mark Willard's take on that coming up at noon today. Probably around 12:30, we'll get that preview of some Bison baseball for you as NDSU takes on the Golden Gophers. And obviously your texts, your phone calls as well. Also welcome into the program today. The Epic Companies hotline open for you. That's 701-476-1660. You can also text us at that very same number, or you can email in. The Rick Electric email inbox is studio@bison1660.com. You can also email us any questions, comments, concerns, all that stuff right there for you. Either way you want to get part of the show, we are more than welcome to be a part of the show, and we'll try and answer those questions for you throughout the next couple of hours. Let's take a break here. Good setup for the show. Got things going here. I'm on the air. Kyle doesn't have to lead the show. That's all good stuff early on, so good quality first segment. Take a break. We'll come back. I heard there was an NFL trade yesterday. I don't know who it was for or what the teams were involved, but I heard there was a trade for a quarterback. I think we'll try and take account of that and give you our thoughts on the big NFL trade that happened yesterday when we come back next on The Insiders.
Hear the herd here. Bison's 1660.
I think what makes Proceed win is we're different than the other companies in many ways with our programming, our simplicity, our non-corporate attitudes, and our personal relationship building.
What ProSeed is, we bring back the old-fashioned seed buying experience. We're true seedsmen. We care about everything from the sale to the planting to following up afterwards. That's what we're all about, is just trying to bring that experience back to a personal level.
Need seed? Think ProSeed. ProSeed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
No matter where you work, whether it's at your kitchen table or in the office, you need to collaborate with your team. ProConnect from Consolidated Communications makes it happen. You'll never miss a call when you can answer from your desk phone, laptop, or cell phone. And you can communicate instantly using real-time messaging. Confidently connect with customers over secure video conferencing and work together to create and share documents. Get ready to connect, collaborate, and communicate brilliantly. Choose ProConnect, your team collaboration tool from Consolidated Communications.
The clock's changed, which means the change of seasons is next. Are you ready for the spring melt? Is your sump pump? Do not wait to check this off your list. Let the professionals at Valley Service Mechanical help. If you're not sure your sump pump can handle this year's thaw, make an appointment today so you can enjoy upcoming warm weather without worry. It's easy with Valley Service Mechanical. When your heating and cooling needs help and your plumbing is on the fritz, call Valley Service Mechanical, 701-293-5701. Online at valleyservice.net.
In 1953, Bill Samuels created a simple bourbon, while Margie Samuels worked on her creative vision. A bottle hand-dipped in red wax, wrapped in a hand-cut label, filled with handcrafted bourbon that elevated flavor and remains unchanged as of today. Aromas of woody oak, caramel, and vanilla, with a taste that is sweet and balanced with caramel, vanilla, and fruity essences. Every barrel of Maker's Mark is aged to taste, not time. Maker's Mark, the star of your home bar. Please drink responsibly.
Tired of striking out on the search of your dream home? Step up to the plate with Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty. Todd's expertise in the Fargo-Moorhead real estate market ensures every client has their bases covered. If you're taking a swing, why not swing for the fences? Todd Cattermas is a proud partner and the preferred realtor of NDSU Athletics. Call Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty today at 701-371-4234 or visit him at 4832 Amber Valley Parkway in Fargo. Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty. Moving the herd, one home at a time.
Dakota Refrigeration, now known as DRI, has been serving Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Montana for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, DRI is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical service needs. From the entryway to the kitchen, from hot to cold, from dreary to bright, DRI has you covered. DRI, formerly Dakota Refrigeration, with locations in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot, online at dacref.com.
The place you go for all your Bison news first. You've got the insiders right here on Bison 1660.
Welcome back into the Insiders. Andy Rickoff here in Minneapolis, getting ready for Bison baseball later today. Kyle Emanuel back in our Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Theraldson Ethanol produces 175 million gallons of ethanol per year and roughly 400 tons of livestock feed per year. You can fuel your own future and join their growing team. They're located just west of Castleton. Just go online to theraldsonethanol.com. I am back for segment 2. Were you still worried at all, Kyle? I wouldn't be back for this segment, or
no? Micah was actually on standby. He was going to just take over your spot, so we're good. We're all good back here at the Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. We're good.
Okay, good to know that Micah is standing by to take my job. It's really comforting. He's got that figured out there back behind the board. Appreciate that from our good buddy back there, Mr. Micah Bindi, doing great work. Are we still going to be playing music, Micah? Is that still a thing today? Do I have to guess songs and titles and stuff?
I can go into, I try and find a trend for each single day, so every day is different. I haven't thought of the trend yet, but I think give me a few more minutes, I'll get one.
Okay, there we go. Looking forward to it, and Kyle will beat me in that game once again. The Insider is brought to you each and every day by ProSeed, home of the right stuff and right choice programs, online at proseed.net. If you need seed, think ProSeed. Here on the TVs I'm looking at, I got some ESPN on, and they're showing the NBA playoffs from last night. The Lakers taking a 3-1 series lead over the 2-seed Memphis Grizzlies. So the 2-seed on the brink of elimination. Grizzlies got to win 3 in a row. I got a controversial opinion for you later in the program, I think, about the NBA. They might need to add a piece of equipment to the uniform in the NBA to fix the problem that has plagued the playoffs so far this NBA playoff season. But right now, we've got to talk about the trade that finally got done And so we can finally stop talking about it after today, because today is the reaction day, and then we can finally let it go and stop talking about one individual for nonstop on every other program throughout the country, and that is the Aaron Rodgers trade from the Packers to the Jets. It is finally done. It's been agreed to, and he's no longer in Green Bay. It is a happy, happy day over here for myself, Mr. Emmanuel.
Oh, really? So
Yes.
you're not buying into Micah's theory that Jordan Love's going to be a Pro Bowler? Was it within 3 years, 2 years?
I want to say, I want to say 5 years.
So.
I want to say a Pro Bowler and playoffs. I think I predicted a playoff run for the or division champs.
I mean, Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowler this year, guys. So.
True. Pro Bowler doesn't really.
Let me switch.
Pro Bowl does nothing. So.
Let me switch it to playoffs and division champs. That within 5 years, Jordan Love.
5? That's such a big window. That doesn't mean he's successful, in my opinion. What if he's terrible for 4 years, then finally in the 5th year they win the division title?
If he's terrible for 4 years, he ain't going to be the Packers quarterback for a 5th year.
That's what okay. So, all right. Anyway,
He doesn't have the videos. If he's terrible for 2 years, I think his rookie contract will be done, and they're like, we're moving on.
I think you had said something like, in the next decade, Jordan Love will have more division championships than the Vikings.
That's it.
That was kind of what you had going a bit there, and you're right to that opinion. My take has always been, and Jordan Love could turn to be really good, he can't be better than Aaron Rodgers. He could be as bad as Aaron Rodgers in terms of a Vikings perspective. Like, he could just be that good again, and that would suck if you're a Vikings or a Lions or a Bears fan. But he can't be better. I mean, Aaron Rodgers might be the best quarterback to ever play the game. Now, accolades and achievements, clearly not. But in terms of talent, he's absolutely up there, at least in my opinion, from what I had seen for 2 decades there. So he can be good. He's not going to be Aaron Rodgers good this year. And they're going to take a step back. Doesn't mean they can't win the division. But from a Packers perspective, this trade signals, obviously a changing of the guard. And this year is a really big year for LaFleur, in my opinion. Now, prove it. Prove how good of a coach you are, because you had Aaron Rodgers. You won 13 games back-to-back seasons. Didn't make the playoffs last year. Haven't had the playoff success, even when you had all those wins in the regular season. Now you don't have Aaron Rodgers. You got Jordan Love. He's only started 1 game, and that one start was pretty lackluster against Kansas City a couple of years back or whenever that was. And that was during the COVID year a couple of years back. So, it's time to see if LaFleur, as a head coach, can get this team to be a competitive team without Aaron Rodgers. And obviously they've got some talent. They've got Christian Watson, who is a star in the making there and had his breakout for a month to 2 month stretch there towards the end of the season and was right there, I thought, in the voting for Offensive Rookie of the Year. This is going to be a big year for the Green Bay Packers because you don't have Aaron Rodgers there anymore.
Well, yeah, and I got to question a little bit. Now, I know the Packers have done this in the past. They did it with Aaron Rodgers, but Jordan Love's been there, 3 years now?
3 years.
3 years
already
without playing. Like, if he was truly, if you know what you got in him a little bit. Now, you haven't really seen a ton game-wise, but you know there's preseason games. You mentioned the one start. He's gotten in a couple times. Like, he's been there long enough where they know what they have. How do they feel about him? That's what I really want to know, because I think they're going to give him the reins this year. Obviously, he'll be the starter for this year and probably the year after that. Then you start to get into that. Well, actually, this year probably only, and then you got to decide, are you going to give him that 5th-year option because he was a first-round pick? But I got to question a little bit how they feel about him internally. They know what they got, but they re-signed Aaron Rodgers. They didn't move on from him as quickly as maybe some people would have. Like, what do you really have in Jordan Love? Well, that question is going to be answered this year, and he obviously has a talent. There was something there. There was a reason. I believe the Packers might have even traded up to get him, but they took him in the first round either way. They clearly like something about him. I don't think he can. You can't give a guy in his 4th year the long leash, right? Like, I don't think you can sit there and look at him as like a rookie quarterback where you're like, yeah, you're gonna have some good games, you're gonna have some bad games, we're gonna fight through it. Like, I think this has to be somewhat close to a polished product, which it's probably not going to be because he hasn't played. But in my opinion, I don't know if you can give him that long leash like you would have normally, like a rookie quarterback in their first year starting.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. So if you haven't heard, here are the terms of the deal between the Jets and the Green Bay Packers. So the Jets get Aaron Rodgers, of course. So they get Aaron Rodgers. They get the 15th overall pick in this year's draft, which is the first for the Packers. They get a 5th-round pick this year from the Packers as well. And then the Packers get the 13th overall pick from the Jets. So basically, the Packers move up 2 picks in the first round, from 15 to 13. Then they also get a 2nd-round pick this year, number 42 overall, a 6th-round pick this year, number 207, and then a conditional 2024 2nd-round pick that would become a 1st-round pick if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of the plays, which I don't think we have any expectation he won't be playing 65% of the snaps unless there is an injury very early. So basically, it is next year's 1st, it's this year's 1st, this year's 2nd, this year's 6th for Aaron Rodgers, this year's 1st, and a 5th this year back to the Jets. So overall, first thoughts, when I first saw the terms of the deal, I said, it seems pretty fair. I think that seems fine. This is a quarterback that, yes, he's a head case. He might play 1 more year. He might play 4 more years. We really don't know because he doesn't know. We don't know because he has no idea. He takes his life literally, I think, a week at a time, maybe even a day at a time. What am I doing with my entire career? Much less a whole year at a time. So he could play 1 year. He could play 4. We have no idea. I don't think he does either. But there's no doubt that Aaron Rodgers is talented enough that he can win you a Super Bowl. He has done that. He's won one. So because of that, and because the Jets have, you would think, a roster that is ready-made to win a Super Bowl other than the quarterback position, I get that there's got to be some price because he is Aaron Rodgers. But with him not being someone that's going to play for a bunch more years, it was never going to be like 3 or 4 first-round picks like the Russell Wilson deal was last year for Denver. Overall, I thought pretty fair. You move up a couple spots in the first, you get that conditional pick next year, you get a 2nd this year. I overall thought both teams did just fine on this after the 2 months of waiting for it. I think they both did all right. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I do too. I mean, if you're the Jets, you can look at it in a number of different ways. Like you said, you didn't have to give up quite the haul that teams had to give up to get Matthew Stafford or Russell Wilson, but he is older, so as you mentioned, he's not going to play as long. I kind of simplified this. Look, if I cancel out the first-round picks. Yeah, the Packers move up 2 spots, whatever. So they swap first-round picks. They swap a 5th and a 6th. Pretty similar there. So basically the Packers are getting 2 second-round picks with 1 that could become a first-round pick. So when you look at it from that standpoint, I think at a certain point we were wondering if the Packers were going to get any type of first-round pick. Now it seems pretty likely, like you said, unless there's an injury, they're going to get a first-round pick out of it. They also got a second-round pick. I thought in terms of get what you got back for the Packers, I think you have to be at least pretty happy. I don't know if you're thrilled. I think, if this was a couple of years ago, you're thinking you're getting at least 2 first-round picks, if not more. But at this stage in his career, I think you got to be pretty happy with that. And then when I look at it from the Jets' standpoint, yeah, you gave up that second-round pick. You gave up probably another first-round pick. You moved back 2 picks as well this year. But you had to do this. You had to go all in. Once this news broke that Aaron Rodgers wanted to play, that it was all over national media, you had to do this. You have to take a swing at a Super Bowl. So from a general manager standpoint, even if you had to give up slightly more, I feel like you had to do this. You had a really good draft a year ago. You feel good about what you have coming back. Go take a shot at a Super Bowl. Try and pull off what the Buccaneers did with Tom Brady back in 2021 and try and go get that 1 Super Bowl. And even if it's just 1 year, even if it's 2 years, I feel like you had to take this swing and try and go get that Super Bowl victory for a fan base that is desperate for one. Now, I know we can also get into whether or not this makes the Jets a Super Bowl contender. I would still lean no, and I know the Jets have a very good roster, but let's just look at the career of Aaron Rodgers. He's had some really good rosters in Green Bay as well. As you mentioned, they win 13 games. I don't know how many times he's been a number 1 seed. He has 1 Super Bowl and only 1 Super Bowl appearance. It's not like he's been there a ton of times and lost. So I would still lean towards no. You still are playing you're playing in a division with Josh Allen. Now, I think some people think the Bills might regress just slightly, but there's also a guy named Patrick Mahomes in the AFC as well. So you're gonna have to get by the Chiefs. I don't know if I'm that confident in that Jets team right now.
That was the next question. The next point of the conversation was, where do you rank them now in the AFC? They jumped up to the 7th best odds to win the Super Bowl, behind a whole host of mostly AFC teams, and then you got 2 teams from the NFC and the 49ers and the Eagles also up there. They are not the favorite to win their own division still. The Buffalo Bills are still the favorite to win the AFC East. Jets, favored to finish 2nd right now. Bills are plus 130, Jets are plus 225. So not a massive heavy favorite in the Bills, but still like fairly well favored. I think a lot of people are saying the Bills are still a better team overall, and we've seen it more from them. We haven't necessarily seen it from this Jets team yet, with it being remade now with Aaron Rodgers. I would say how many Super Bowl contenders are you allowed to have? Like, if you're allowed to have a list of 4, they're not in my top 4. If you're allowed to have a list of 6, probably in my top, and you're just outside the top 6, maybe. If it's 8, they're a Super Bowl contender for me. They're in my top 8 teams most likely, I think, to win or at least get to that Super Bowl for sure. And, they got a great team. If Breece Hall comes back and is healthy again this season after a good rookie year that was cut short by injury, obviously they've got Wilson, who's a great receiver. They bring in Allen Lazard, can maybe use one more weapon there. The issue with Garrett Wilson is Aaron Rodgers hates young receivers, right? It took him forever to warm up to Christian Watson last year, and I hope Aaron Rodgers goes in there early and goes for mini camps and stuff, but we can't expect that, right? He never does that. So it'd be great for him to go to this new team that just traded for him and try and get to know the guys a bit, but I don't think that's going to happen, and so there's probably going to be some growing pains early on. And then you've also got a great defense. They're probably a top 5 defense overall. Sauce Gardner, the great young cornerback. They've got Quinnen Williams up front. They've got a whole bunch of guys and got a great defensive-minded head coach there in Robert Saleh. The most interesting part to this is, do you remember who their offensive coordinator is? It's Nathaniel Hackett, the former quarterbacks coach with the Packers, who was with the Broncos last year, and that whole thing failed. So it's going to be a somewhat familiar system for Aaron Rodgers out there with the Jets, and so that's going to make things very interesting for him and maybe less of a learning curve, so to speak, in his first new offensive scheme in his entire NFL career. But it was definitely, I would think, going to be some growing pains early on. I would not put them as the favorites in the AFC. I'd still take the Chiefs. I'd still take the Bills. I'd still take the Bengals over the Jets as it is right now. But I have a hard time finding teams behind those 3 that are clear-cut better than the Jets from a talent perspective on their roster, because we haven't seen any sort of success yet from the Chargers. The Jaguars are still pretty young. We have no idea what's happening with Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, and the Tennessee Titans might be trading Derrick Henry. There's no other teams out there that I say are clear-cut above them. They're probably 4th in the AFC for me in the hierarchy there.
I would agree. I think you can't put them ahead of the Chiefs. You can't put them ahead of the Bengals. I still probably wouldn't put them ahead of the Bills. I mean, the Dolphins are kind of a sneaky team too. If Tua doesn't get a bunch of concussions and they stay healthy, like,
big if.
Are we? It is. Don't get me wrong, but let's assume. Not that that's a good thing to do, but let's assume the Dolphins stay healthy. Like, I think you could make an argument that they're going to at least challenge the Jets. Like, I don't think that's even. I don't even think you could safely say like they're going to easily get second at it. Now, I would assume they could beat the Patriots. Now they do have an offensive coordinator, so maybe that helps turn things around. But now all of a sudden we're looking at the Patriots like the bottom feeder in the AFC East. It's going to be interesting. On paper, they are very good. But again, there's still a culture now. I think Robert Saleh has done a decent job of turning that around. They were obviously a quarterback away from being very good a year ago. They got to 7 wins, I believe, and then just kind of plateaued a little bit. But it's gonna be fun to watch. I think you're going to see a lot of New York Jets games in prime time.
Oh, yes. You're going to see plenty of those on Monday and Sunday Night Football and being flexed all over to Kingdom Come with the New York Jets this next season, and we'll see what happens there. We'll dive back into this a little bit more later on, maybe the last segment of this hour. But let's take a break right now. We'll come back. Missouri Valley Mix on the other side, brought to you by Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty. We'll dive into the Missouri State Bears with Wyatt Wheeler of the Springfield News Leader when we come back next.
Where the Bison roam. Bison 1660.
The puck drops at Twin Peaks. Come catch the Stanley Cup playoffs with us. Get in early and take advantage of Twin Peaks happy hour, whatever your preference. And we have everything from tequila cocktails, an extensive bourbon category, to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out this adventurous drink menu, second to none. And don't forget about the 29-degree man-sized drafts. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, scenic views.
Living at the Burgess has been a great experience for me, and I'm inviting you to come check it out too. Hey, it's Paige Vargas, pitcher for the Bison softball team. The Burgess has all-inclusive pricing. That means internet, cable, electric, water, everything is included in your 1 monthly payment. The units are fully furnished. It has a fitness center, outdoor courtyard with fireplaces and grills, an automated convenience store. And it's right across from the shack, so I can walk there every day. Tour today to find out more. Online at bridgesnd.com.
Corwin Public Wholesale is conducting a special used vehicle buyback. Any used car, truck, or SUV, we will buy it. Trying to trade your vehicle and not getting what it's worth? We will buy it. Need some extra cash? We will buy it. Whether it's worth $500,000 or $50,000, we will buy it. We want to buy your vehicle. Corwin Public Wholesale, right on the price, right on the I-29 frontage road, Fargo.
Great jobs with a great company can be pretty hard to come by. Here's your chance to get in with Earthwork Services in West Fargo. Earthwork Services is looking for Class A and B drivers, heavy equipment operators, and project estimator. Company paid life insurance, health and dental insurance available, and a 401k company match. Why wait? Work for a winning team. Apply in person at Earthwork Services in West Fargo or online at esi-nd.com.
Experience is what builds the future of glass at Cardinal IG in Fargo. Cardinal IG is leading the industry in the development of superior glass for the residential window industry. Their highly motivated and talented employees design and manufacture the best glass in the industry. This April, Cardinal IG would like to say thank you to Augustin Kebisari, Aaron Monkman, Kali Momo, Georgia Gunti, Shepard, and Ramaji Yarangar, who are all celebrating their first year at Cardinal IG. To view open positions or to apply, visit cardinalfargo.com.
The NFL Draft starts Thursday, April 27th, and we have all the coverage live from Siggy's Garage off 45th Street South, starting at 7 p.m. You could win one of 3 $100 Visa gift cards or tickets to the NDSU football season opener at U.S. Bank Stadium, plus other prizes. Thursday, April 27th at 7 p.m. on our NFL Draft Show, brought to you by Royal Jewelers and Jim Beam, live from Siggy's Garage off 45th Street South in Fargo.
Bison 1660.
Adele.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Adele is one. You got a half point.
It's not
It's
hello,
some fire,
because it would have started off.
Set
fire to the rain or something.
Ooh,
like that.
half point, Andy. We got
What?
a tie.
I gave him the... Okay.
You didn't get the whole title. You got Adele.
I should get 0.75 for that.
Sorry, we got a tie here so far.
Why would I get a half and you get 0.75? That makes no sense.
Because I said fire, and that cued you in to the actual name.
Well, then don't give it away next time. Sorry about that. Andy Rick, I'm Kyle Emanuel here with you.
I'm walking out. I'm walking out. I'm out of here.
That's fine. I'll have Micah run the show for us. Here with you on Bison 1660. Got Bison baseball later today against the Golden Gophers. We'll have more Aaron Rodgers talk maybe here at the end of this hour, what it means for the Packers and Jordan Love. And also Mark Willard coming up at noon talking Trey Lance. Is he actually going to be traded from San Francisco to anywhere else or specifically somewhere in purple? Wouldn't mind that one either. But right now, let's jump over to the Epic Companies hotline. Let's fire up the Missouri Valley Mix.
The Missouri Valley Mix. The Missouri State Bears.
Missouri Valley Mix brought to you by Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty. Right now joined by Wyatt Wheeler of the Springfield News Leader, giving us a glimpse into Missouri State as spring practices wrapping up for everybody in the Valley over these last couple of weeks. Wyatt, great to have you on again, sir. How have things been for you down there in Missouri?
Oh, calming down after basketball season, starting to get a little more busy into baseball, and was happy to have football for a little bit there for a couple weeks. So just waiting for things to go by again so we can get to actual football season.
Now, I know we'll get to Missouri State stuff here in just a little bit. I know I've asked you in the past about the Kansas City Chiefs, and you say I'm not the person to ask about the Chiefs because you're not a Chiefs fan. That's totally fine. But with the NFL Draft being down there by you, are you going to go to the NFL Draft? Is that like an event you'd want to go to at some point in your life? Where does that stand on like the sports fandom bucket list thing?
The Chicago Bears fan in me is making the trip up to Kansas City on Thursday. So just see what that's like. Just hang around it. Maybe the Bears trade back. Maybe they we originally planned to go when they were number 1 overall, but I like the trade package they got. But I think it'll be a cool event. Just want to see how that is, and hopefully find a place to park.
And as a Chicago Bears fan, I'm a Vikings fan. So are you rejoicing today as well that Aaron Rodgers is out of the division? Is this like a national holiday for you too, or what?
I just want to see him. There's two different thoughts to that. Do you want him to be good in New York, and have Packer fans hate it, or would you just rather see him be terrible because it's him and he's tortured us for so long? So I'm just trying to figure out how I feel about it. I've kind of already done the rejoicing because it already felt like the divorce was already there for a few weeks. But screw him. Hope he's miserable.
Fair enough. And yeah, I think it's interesting. You're covering Missouri State Bears, and you're a Bears fan. I think a lot of people would agree with that sentiment a little bit. I wanted to dive in though to the Bears that you cover, Missouri State. Obviously, spring ball is kind of wrapping up for a lot of different programs around the country, and I know this is kind of a hard question to answer, but were there some questions that were answered for the Bears during the spring? I know there's got to be a lot of different things going on with the new head coach.
We knew who the likely quarterback was going to be going into this. It's just a matter of how are they going to build things around him when he's just so much different than Jason Shelley. That's Jake Scott, former Minnesota quarterback, just transferred from there. Might have thrown one or two passes his entire Golden Gopher career, but they have adjusted the offense around him. Just a shotgun quarterback and a step back a few steps and get the ball out quickly. And when you would see a Jason Shelley decide to scramble around and try to throw the ball deep or make a play with his legs. So it's going to look very different. But when you look at the things that she questioned, the offensive line has been a question the entire time because with this staff, now this staff is the same as it was, just minus Bobby Petrino and a promotion for defensive coordinator Ryan Beard. We've never been sold on the offensive line. It's never been that good, and you didn't really get a feel for that. The coaches have talked up like, hey, we finally feel like we have some depth and talent at the position along the lines when we hadn't felt that before. I've heard that some guys are going into the portal that have started on there in years past, so maybe just a real big reshuffling there. And then defensively, it's just so young right now, especially along the defensive line. And those questions were answered. It was like, yep, that is very young, and they need a lot more. So just watching their portal action right now, going after some JUCO defensive linemen, going after some FBS transfer defensive linemen. That's going to be a lot over the next few months, just trying to make sure they have a experienced enough defensive line, or else they're going to get killed in this league.
Wyatt Willard here with us talking Missouri State on the Missouri Valley Mix. Let's go to the quarterback spot, because not only is there going to be a new coach, not only are you trying to bounce back from a disappointing season, now you're doing without Jason Shelley, who is probably the best quarterback in the conference the last couple of seasons. You had a whole host of guys there. You mentioned one of them, the transfer from Minnesota, and Jacob Clark, Jordan Pasho, Caden McMullen. Who's taking the lead there? Who can you expect to maybe be quarterback one when fall camp rolls around?
It's going to be Jacob Clark unless somebody comes and unless they go out and get somebody else, which they've actually teased. They've said that if there's the right quarterback in the portal that they feel like can make an immediate impact, they'll go get him. But it's Jacob Clark's job to lose. This is a taller guy. He's going to be in the pocket. He does have some athleticism, but he's just going to be one to get the ball out quick. It's going to make the line look a lot better. Jason did have a tendency to just hang on too long and not throw the ball when he was supposed to. But I liked what I saw from Jacob. I think he has the arm strength and the mentality to get it done. It's just a matter of if they go get a real game changer at the position that can kind of make the jump on him. But it's going to be Jacob Clark, and unless something changes over the next few months with a portal addition.
Wyatt, I wanted to jump back to last year, and when you talk about expectations, Missouri State had them for the first time in probably quite a while. A lot of people had them ranked in their top 5 in the preseason. Obviously, the season didn't go the way they wanted, finishing 5 and 6. Do you think the expectations were almost too much that they couldn't handle them, or was it just something completely different and why things went a little awry last year?
They had the good start. They started out 2-0. They beat UT Martin. They beat Central Arkansas. And then they go and they lead Arkansas into the fourth quarter. nationally ranked FBS Arkansas in Bobby Petrino's return, and then you see the Bears fall apart there. That wasn't too big of a surprise. You see the next week, it's actually tied with national champion South Dakota State going into the fourth quarter. And you see the Bears fall apart, and they just weren't the same team after that. They were capable. I think you saw some injuries along. You saw some injuries at different spots on the field that really hurt them, and you didn't get the best play. You didn't get the play that you expected from your quarterback to when he was the best player in the league the year before. Wasn't playing to that level the next year, and just a lot of little different things that contributed to that. And expectations was probably in there, but injuries everywhere on the field, and just probably not responding well to those two losses just kind of really screwed their season a little bit.
And Wyatt Wheeler here with us talking Missouri State Bears. We've gone through a lot of positions. I haven't heard a whole lot of optimism a whole lot of places here so far. Wyatt, what's the strength of this team right now? If you got a new quarterback, if you don't have Braswell at corner, if you got a whole bunch of different receivers, what's the strength in your opinion?
It's just so different right now. I really do like the coaches and it's just so young, and it looks like a completely different team than what we were used to the last few seasons under Bobby. But that's just because a lot of those guys have either entered their names in the NFL draft or ran out of eligibility. So I really like just seeing what Nick Petrino is able to put together for the different kinds of quarterbacks getting out there. As the offensive coordinator, just building offenses around them. You get Jacardier right back. If you're able to have an offensive line that can get him some blocks, I mean, that's going to be a really good running back with a high ceiling, but wasn't able to see that last year. So there can be some strengths. I think Jacob can be really good. I think Cartier can be good. That turns the receivers into good players. I think the linebackers is a strength, and you're going to see a deeper cornerback room. But, I mean, a lot of that just depends on the other units to make them better. So you just need to see that offensive line come along. You need to see that defensive front get older, get more experience on that defensive line through the portal these next few months, and I think they'll have a competitive team, and probably maybe even a good team. But just so much depends on some of those glaring weaknesses from the last few years if they're going to be any good at all.
So you touched on it a little bit there. I mean, I look back to last year, and I think you'd say a successful season was, maybe winning the Valley, or at worst getting into the playoffs. What would that look like this year? What would the Bears need to do to be like, okay, that was a successful season given all the turnover and new head coach and everything going on?
I think you after those successful playoff runs, you want to have that expectation of playoffs. I don't think anybody's going to be talking out openly about a national championship this year like they would break out the huddle to before last season. But I think showing promise under this new head coach, showing promise with this staff, that you could take some steps forward under these guys and show a bright future. I think that's something that will be well received for this fan base. And I mean, Missouri State football's never had expectations before, and so it's just seeing some steps forward, being a competitive team, being one that can. I mean, the one step they hadn't been able to take is beat a team like North Dakota State, beat a team like South Dakota State when you've had them on the ropes the last few years. Finish some of those games. So if they could show any of that in the first few weeks, if they can have momentum going into a game like that, I think that's something where you want to see those big strides and milestone achievements for this program when you haven't had many of those over the last 35 years when you just got a little taste of it during a COVID spring season and then a year after when you won a lot of one-possession games. So you just steps forward and being competitive would be great for this team and raise those expectations throughout the year.
Got one more question for you, Wyatt. Again, Wyatt Wheeler here with us, talking Missouri State on the Missouri Valley Mix. We're here into the summer now, right? Spring ball is kind of behind everyone just about, and this is a fun time to talk some more football. But this also is the time when all the craziness has happened in college football the last couple of years, with USC and UCLA going Big Ten, It's just a time of year where Texas and Oklahoma dropped the bomb that they're moving from the Big 12 to the SEC. I know Missouri State's been mentioned in those conversations. Are there any more conversations around that university and that program about wanting to try and get to that FBS level at all, or have those kind of been shelved?
Those have kind of been shelved, I think. I mean, I'm going to be doing some talks about this over the next few weeks, doing a little more digging into some of those financials and things that kind of go into it. Just kind of being struck by some of the numbers that when you look at what a Conference USA has or what a Sun Belt has as far as how those programs generate revenue, I think is a fascinating one to look compared to Missouri State when about 50% of its revenue is coming from a combination of student fees and institutional support. So, I mean, that's money just coming from the university when you look at those two. So looking at that compared to how Conference USA, Sun Belt does, and those schools, I think is something to look into. And then Missouri State's got a long way to go with facilities right now. You're seeing so many of these high schools around the area getting some indoor football facilities and whatnot. Missouri State's got, I don't want to say some of the worst facilities in the conference when Western Illinois and Indiana State exist, but it's just something that they would need to upgrade when you want to try to make a jump to be among those Southern Miss or North Texas, when that's what they're investing in right now to make themselves big-time programs.
And Wyatt Wheeler here with us with the Springfield News Leader. Wyatt, appreciate your time as always. Looking forward to those articles from you here over the summer. We'll have you again on before the season starts.
Not a problem, guys. Anytime. Have a good one.
There you go, Wyatt Wheeler, proud Chicago Bears fan, and also, like me, happy that Aaron Rodgers is out of the division. Nice enough to give us some time on the Epic Companies Hotline. And our Missouri Valley Mix, as always, brought to you by Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty. Todd is the preferred realtor of NDSU Athletics. If you are looking to buy or sell a home, you got to use Todd Cattermas. You can find him online at tksellsfmhomes.com. Also stop by 4832 Amber Valley Parkway South in Fargo, or call him up at 701-371-4234. Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty, moving the hurt one home at a time. We'll take a break, and we'll come back and wrap up the first hour for you. And got Mark Willard to lead off hour number 2, talking Trey Lance today on The Insiders.
You're listening to The Insiders on your home for NDSU Sports. Bison 1660.
Rice Companies understands that strong buildings and strong communities start with strong connections. They know the importance of every bolt, every beam, and every handshake. Every connection must be strong. When you work with Rice Companies, you're building on more than concrete and steel. You're building on knowledge and expertise with people you can trust. People who value your investment as much as you do. Connect with Rice Companies, your local Butler builder, and experience the difference strong connections can make for your business. Learn more and see career opportunities at ricecompanies.com.
Snow, ice, and below zero temps. Typical Midwest weather, but not so kind to your vehicle. That's why Jiffy Lube of Fargo is here to make sure you have your vehicle in top working condition and ready for these winter roads and temps. Oil changes are the #1 maintenance item that's neglected. At Jiffy Lube of Fargo, no appointment needed at any of the 3 locally owned locations. Jiffy Lube of Fargo, where you can do more in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube of Fargo, proudly serving the metro area for 5 decades.
Pull out the peanuts and Cracker Jacks. The Bison are on the diamond again this season, looking to take the crown as the champions of the Summit League. We have live coverage of both NDSU baseball and softball this season here on Bison 1660. Brought to you by the Bridges Apartments and Farmers Mutual of Nebraska. The schedule for our coverage of both teams can be found on our website, bison1660.com. Every home run, stolen base, and strikeout on your home for the Bison. Bison 1660.
Hey, business owners, you have your banker, you have your insurance guy, but do you have your door guy? Now you do.
Davtech Window Services also specializes in commercial door and window repair and replacement. Davtech is proud to be known for their excellent commercial services as on the NDSU campus. Choose the door and window experts that will deliver top-rated products as well as the experienced technicians that do it right the first time. A decade of service with a century of experience. Online at davtechwindowservices.com. That's davtechwindowservices.com.
The Jeep Celebration event is going on now at Corwin Jeep. Get 2 great deals on the hottest Jeep models. Drive off in a new Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE at invoice pricing plus dealer rebates. That's right, you get invoice pricing and add dealer rebates on top of an already low price. Invoice pricing is available on all new Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE units, including all trim levels. Or lease a new Jeep Compass Latitude Lux as low as $299 a month. Shop over 80 of these new vehicles now. Corwin Jeep, CorwinAuto.com.
Hey Bison Nation, Andy Reckoff here, and I just wanted to take a moment to say we absolutely love our Thoroldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Love being there every day to bring you the very latest with NDSU athletics, but we're not the only ones that like to be in the studio.
Michael Tutsi with us here live in studio. Scott Anderson joining us, Director of Multimedia, NDSU.
The athletic director's inside the studio. Matt Larson's joining us. I told you we weren't the only ones. Fuel your future and join the growing team at Thoroldson Ethanol today by going online to ThoroldSonEthanol.com.
Bison 1660.
Oh, I know this one. I know it really
It's
well.
Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, I could have gotten that one already. Shoot.
And it's Shallow.
It's from A Star Is Born.
That's correct, Kyle.
Thank you.
Shadows?
Shallow.
Shallow.
Yeah, there you go. Did you see the movie?
Of course I've seen the movie.
Okay.
It's a great movie.
Some people haven't, so great movie. I thought it was phenomenal. I was a
Yeah.
big fan of it. So there you go. Got another one for you. Shocker. Kyle's beating me once again. Andy Rickoff, Kyle Emanuel, Micah Bindi here on the program. Getting ready for Bison baseball. Give you a preview of NDSU in Minnesota later on in hour number 2. Also Mark Willard here in just a little bit. But last night, the Minnesota Twins opened up a series with the New York Yankees at Target Field. Second series, and it seems like as many weeks, just a couple of weeks since they were, not even a couple of weeks, maybe a week and a half since they were in New York taking on the Bronx Bombers at Yankee Stadium. Kyle Emanuel, if I were to ask you, who is the leader in Major League Baseball in ERA, the best pitcher in terms of earned run average in Major League Baseball, who would you guess?
I'm going to guess Sonny Gray.
Well, that's a very good guess, sir. I'm guessing you did your homework and you were prepped for the show because it is Sonny Gray. And Sonny Gray was phenomenal again last night.
I actually didn't. I just went to the I kind of knew where you were going with that, and I went to the score box, and I saw that he got the win yesterday. It's 3-0 with a .62 ERA, and I just kind of put 2 and 2 together.
That's pretty good. That's good detective work by you because Sonny Gray was phenomenal again last night. 7 innings of scoreless baseball that he threw against New York. Gave up a double to Aaron Judge. That was really the only somewhat threat that the Yankees could muster against him. I think he had 8 strikeouts in that game and was just phenomenal overall once again, and then lowered his ERA down to like .6 basically, and he is the leader in Major League Baseball right now with a .62 ERA in 29 innings pitched. He got the win, and the Twins got the win with a 5-1 win over the New York Yankees. So, Micah, fire it up.
The Yankees lose.
There you go. The Minnesota Twins get that win over the New York Yankees, splitting a 4-game series in New York, 2-2. They win the first game of this series at Target Field, which means if they win today or if they win tomorrow, one of these last 2 games of the series, they will win the season series against the New York Yankees, winning 6-1 last night and then winning 2 games already in the Bronx in that 4-game set. When was the last time the Twins beat the Yankees in the season series, in a regular season, Kyle? Any guesses?
Do you know the answer?
I know the answer.
2019.
A lot further back than that.
2012.
2001.
Wow.
2001, what I heard on the Twins radio network from one Corey Provis there yesterday as I was listening to the game coming down. Have not defeated them in a regular season series since 2001. 20-plus years of being dominated in the regular season, and we all know in the postseason by New York. Maybe it comes to an end. You can't get ahead of yourself. 2 games here left. the Twins and the Yankees tonight at 6:40. And I don't know who's on the mound. I believe it's Joe Ryan on the mound for the Minnesota Twins in this one tonight against New York. Both teams, by the way, now 13 and 10. I think we've lost track of the magic number for the Twins. We'll try and track that one down for you at some point this week and continue that little bit. That was kind of fun when they were 2-0 early on in the year. But a win 6-1 over the Yankees last night. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Hour number 2 gets going in earnest. Talking Trey Lance, Mark Willard, 95-7 the game. Will the Niners actually do it? Are they actually going to trade Trey Lance? It seems like maybe a mistake, but, well, they also got Brock Purdy. Maybe Trey Lance is available, and maybe he'll be the second quarterback traded before the draft or during the NFL draft. We'll get Mark Willard's take on that, and Hunter Lipke going to the 49ers. Maybe that's a possibility as well. His take on all of that when we come back. Hour number 2 of the Insiders next.
These days, we're all looking for ways to save some cash. Have you looked at your insurance? Talk to your Nodak Insurance Company agent, because the more you insure with Nodak Insurance, the lower your premiums. Work with one local agent to package your home, autos, or excess liability, everything you care about. Then watch the savings add up. Ask your Nodak Insurance agent how you can save with a multi-line discount. Nodak Insurance Company, agents with answers.
Attention all North Dakota veterans. In a partnership with the Veteran Service Office, Healings Hyperbarics is proud to announce all North Dakota veterans can receive hyperbaric treatments at no cost to them. Whether you're treating for post-traumatic stress disorder, post-COVID long hauler, or chronic pain, or others, Healing Hyperbarics is your one-stop shop for total body wellness. Inquire with your Veteran Service Office for more information on this grant, or find us at healingshyperbarics.com. That's healingshyperbarics.com.
Businesses should know that Consolidated Communications has the only data center in the FM area that is SOC 2 certified. That means Consolidated has tested reliable systems in place to protect your valuable data. That's more important than ever with today's security concerns. Many business insurance companies require SOC certification at data storage facilities. You should work with a local data center that is SOC 2 certified. For scalable, cost-effective data center solutions for your changing business needs, go to consolidated.com/data center.
Jacuzzi Hot Tubs of Fargo is kicking off spring with their grand opening celebration. Stack up your savings when you shop the beautiful new showroom in South Fargo. Now is the time to experience a staycation right in your own backyard. Qualified customers get 0% financing for a limited time. JacuzziHotTubsOfFargo.com. That's JacuzziHotTubsOfFargo.com. Located just off 52nd Avenue.
Looking for a challenging and rewarding opportunity as an electrical and instrumentation maintenance technician? Join the team at Theraldson Ethanol in Castleton. As an experienced electrician, you'll be responsible for maintaining and repairing large machinery and equipment, and will have the opportunity to learn and implement procedures specific to the ethanol industry. Journeyman electrical license or greater required. Work Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and enjoy a competitive salary and benefits package. Apply at TheraldsonEthanol.com or send your resume to HR@TheraldsonEthanol.com.
It's the Cash for Cars event at Gateway Chevrolet. All makes, all models. Sell your ride today. Whether it has 50,000 miles or 150,000 miles, Gateway Chevrolet will buy it. Cars, trucks, and SUVs get cash today. Gateway Chevrolet needs good, clean, used cars, trucks, and SUVs. Sell your ride today, whether it has 50,000 miles or 150,000 miles. Gateway will buy it. The Cash for Cars buying event today at Gateway Chevrolet in Fargo.
KQWB West Fargo, KPFX HD3 Kindred, and K224FD Fargo. Bison 1660, powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo. This is The Insiders, taking you inside the lines and behind the scenes of NDSU and around the region.
I hang heavy on your thoughts because you are the Bison gods.
That should be a penalty.
The Insiders.
Do you have any other questions?
You know it.
The Insiders are presented by Proseed. Need seed? Think Proseed.
Okay, so what are you saying?
These guys do an unbelievable job, and tune into the Insiders.
I did have one. I do not apologize for taking it out of the six-pack.
First thing you should know about us is that we have people everywhere.
The Insider. The Insider. The Insider.
The prices were that shocking. I wasn't listening.
I'm an old soul.
Now, here are the insiders.
Well, we're waiting.
Wait no longer. Hour number 2 here with you. Split screen edition of the Insiders. Kyle Emanuel live with you inside the Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Andy Rickoff with you from the boardroom at the Courtyard Marriott in Minneapolis. That's where I'm currently at. Not in the hotel room. They were nice enough to put me in one of the conference rooms with internet access and everything so we can get the show going for you. Got a couple of TVs, still rocking. A couple of sports channels.
Andy Rickoff.
Got my own conference room here. That's right. Don't you forget it.
Well, they roll out the red carpet when you show up in town, don't they?
So, funny story, actually. Phenomenal, basically CEO of the company with Nancy on. He does everything we need to be successful here and to give us the tools we need. She let me come down a day early to make sure I had time to get down here before the baseball game later tonight, and it wasn't too tight of a window just in case you get car trouble or anything. So I'm like, okay, I'll get a hotel. So I start looking around. There's clearly, there's hundreds of hotels in the Minneapolis area, right? You can pick a bunch of places, and I just wanted something. My only stipulation really was I want somewhere that is somewhat close to the baseball diamond, so it's a fairly quick drive over, and I can kind of get there and make sure I get settled in once I get over there. And I happened to pick this hotel, and I didn't know until I got here. It's the exact same hotel I stayed in with NDSU women's basketball, and we came down to face St. Thomas earlier this year. So I didn't even know that, and so I was kind of already accustomed to the. They did. I think they still had it rolled out from when the basketball team was here. That makes
sense.
Yeah, I think that's actually the case. So when we were down, and we were down here for like 4 days, like 3 days, I think, because it was that snowstorm, came down an extra day early, and all sorts of stuff. So we were down here quite a bit. So I know this hotel a little bit better than most of them. Did not plan it that way, but that's the way it happened to go. Let's jump over, though, and stop hearing about my traveling escapades and jump over to the Epic Company's hotline right now, where Mark Willard is waiting for us from 95.7 The Game out in San Francisco, and has a talk show out there as well, covering the San Francisco 49ers, but all of San Francisco sports. Having him on to talk some Trey Lance right now with the draft just a couple of days away. And, Mark, great to have you on with us. Appreciate you jumping on. How are you doing with a couple of days before the NFL draft? What are the 49ers fans talking about?
Well, the most of the 49er fans, I'm going to be straight honest with you, they're talking about the Warriors. That's what most people have been talking about right now. But I'm excited, because today and tomorrow we do get a little bit of a break from it. The Warriors and Kings don't resume until tomorrow night. And so with the draft coming and Don Lynch, the general manager of the team, having his pre-draft commentary yesterday, it gives us an opportunity to get back to something that I think is brewing. It's really brewing. The more I look into this, the more I listen. I do think a Trey Lance trade is possible here within the next 48, 72 hours.
Yeah, I think it's getting more and more possible. We had you on, I think, a couple of months ago, and you were like, yeah, Brock Purdy's the guy, but they're not trading Trey Lance. So what happened? What happened between then and now where all of a sudden it feels – and I agree with you 100%. Like, it feels like they're putting out feelers, and they really are open to the idea of moving on from a guy they gave up 3 first-round picks for.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, but I think what it really comes down to is 2 things, which is, one, when they went through their playoff run and then I think just their postseason sort of meeting about everything that took place, they decided that they really believe in Brock Purdy, and they believe he is their future quarterback. And then the second thing they needed to see was they needed to see him get through his surgical process. They needed to know that he wasn't going to miss this upcoming season. They needed to get the rehab process started. And all of that is going well. That doesn't mean there are any guarantees that he's going to be ready for week 1, but if he's not, that's why they probably went out and got another fairly high-level, big-name backup in Sam Darnold. So to me, that's clue number 1. But the bigger issue is once you decide Brock Purdy's your guy, I sort of question why you would keep Trey Lance. Like, as excited as we all are to see him, and as much as we would all acknowledge he has not done anything wrong, he's not started enough games for anybody to make a decision about him. If you decide Brock Purdy's your future, My question would be, why would you go through the process of developing Trey Lance? You just don't do that. You don't develop two young quarterbacks at once in the NFL. And the longer you wait, you got to think the price is only going to go down. So that when you just sort of piece that puzzle together, they haven't said they want to deal him. I don't think it's definitely going to happen. But when you piece that puzzle together, it starts to make a little bit of sense that that's what they're feeling behind closed doors.
Yeah, Mark, this is such an interesting situation to me because, and you kind of touch on it there, but I feel like when you look at Trey, and like you said, he hasn't had enough time on the field to really say one way or the other whether we feel good about him or we don't because of the injury. So in your mind, are they saying, we think Brock Purdy has a higher ceiling than Trey, or does it really just come down to we don't want to develop two young quarterbacks?
I think it comes down to, and this is, as I think we've learned in the couple of years since this happened, this was not the gift to Trey Lance that we thought it was to end up with a good team right out of the gate to start his career. You can't sell to that locker room that has such a veteran presence. Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Fred Warner, an absolute Super Bowl-ready roster. You can't sell to that team, hey, we're going to work through the bumps and bruises of a young quarterback, when that roster knows they've got someone right there they've already won with, even though it was a small sample. Imagine you go out there with Trey and you start 1-2. How's your locker room feel? They're not going to be happy with it. There's just no time. That's what the 49ers don't have to offer Trey Lance right now. So I don't think it's a narrative at all about, the future of Trey Lance. I do think it's a narrative of he has not developed in some ways behind the scenes that they wanted him to over the last couple of years, and a lot of that had to do with injury. Things have been stalled. I still think they think he can be a good player. The problem is they're ready to go now. It has to be turnkey, and because someone else showed the roster that they can win with him, you just can't sell it behind closed doors that they want to go with Trey.
Again, Mark Willard, 95.7 The Game here with us. You mentioned price. What is the price? What do you think is there? Got to have it. You hear all the speculation from random blog people everywhere, right? Like, we'll give up a fourth for him, and I'm like, a fourth? That feels like nothing. I'm not going to be trading Trey Lance for a fourth if I'm San Francisco. Is it a first? What do they have to have, you think, in order to feel comfortable trading them?
I don't think it's a first. I think that's unrealistic. But beyond that, I can't really tell you what it is the 49ers are exactly trying to do. This might also have to do with potentially who they might be targeting in the draft. They don't have early round draft picks. They don't pick until the third, but they've got a bucket load of picks. So I don't think it's as simple as it rarely is. Look at the Aaron Rodgers deal yesterday. It's not just going to be as simple as we give you Trey, you give us a 2. I can see this being part of a larger deal, a package of picks and Trey, and maybe you move up into the first round, something like that, if the 49ers really have their eyes on somebody special, and that I don't know either, but I know that they would probably love to get a high-level cornerback. They're always looking for a ton of pass rushers. They value that so much. I think that they're probably starting to think about the second half of George Kittle's career, and there are some really good tight ends out there. That's the kind of discussion. So it may sort of be a little bit in the moment when we get to Thursday. But when you think about Trey and the draft capital the 49ers have, you add that together, you could potentially move up into the first or second round. I don't think they'd really be interested in things that are going to be happening over the weekend, fourth and fifth and sixth round. I don't think that moves the needle.
Let's say they don't trade him. Trey Lance is on the roster. You go into the season with 3 quarterbacks that we have right now, or that the 49ers have right now. Is there a scenario where he can win the starting job? Do you think this is an open competition going into camp, or is it like you said that Brock Purdy is our guy?
Well, I think the mind is open, but it's going to have to be sort of circumstantial. Like, yes, Trey Lance can go win the job, but that might mean that something has gone wrong with Brock's elbow recovery, or let's paint a scenario where Brock's not quite ready just for the first month of the season. Trey beats out Sam. Trey goes out there, boom, goes 4-0, and he's lighting it up. Now what do you do? That kind of scenario exists. I don't think the relationship between the team and Trey is fractured. I don't think that at all. It's just a matter, again, of if all things are as you would expect them to be. If Brock is ready in mid-August and he looks like Brock, then that's when things become a little bit troublesome for Trey Lance, because I don't think the organization wants the picture of him either losing to Sam Darnold or just holding a clipboard on the sideline. And Trey doesn't either, obviously. He wants to develop. He's going to want to get out on the field, and he wants an organization that's excited to have him. So it's a little touchy because there's some things that they wish they knew that they don't know. You know, if you knew for sure that Brock Purdy was ready and healthy and looked like himself, this would be a little bit more cut and dry.
Get Mark Willard here with us, talking Trey Lance, 49ers, and a whole bunch of other things here coming up. But one more question from me, at least on this topic. Would they consider a quarterback back in a trade? And the reason I bring that up is because obviously there's Vikings fans around here. Kirk Cousins is the quarterback. I think if the Vikings were to trade for Trey Lance, they wouldn't want Kirk Cousins on the roster. You don't want Trey sitting another year. Right? He's sat enough. You got to get the guy actually playing some football here to get some games under his belt. Would they take a quarterback back in a trade? Or do you think if the Vikings traded for Trey, they have to trade Kirk somewhere else?
Well, so there's two different answers to the question. Would they take a quarterback back? Sure. Would they take that one? I don't think so. Even though we know Kyle Shanahan loves Kirk Cousins, the issue that the rest of the nation, I don't know if they fully buy, but I do, which is that when you look at the 49ers, you hear this all the time. You know, you hear Florio on Pro Football, and everybody's always trying to get, Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, and they're trying, Lamar Jackson. All of these things have been discussed in the offseason. One of the things that the 49ers really value right now, and it's a powerful thing for their specific roster, is that they're not spending a lot of money on the quarterback position. And they feel like they can get production out of that room for a bargain rate. They got Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and Sam Darnold. You can add it all up, and it doesn't even come close to half of what Kirk Cousins is making. So there's no room to fit that salary into this particular locker room, and I think the 49ers really value that, not only this year, but for the next few years. They envision a situation, whether it was Trey or Brock, where they've got at least 2-3 more seasons to go of being able to try to get production out of the quarterback position for a bargain rate, and I don't think they're going to give that up.
I wanted to switch topics quickly as we're talking NFL. We have to obviously talk the big news, and I want to get your opinion, your reaction to the news that Aaron Rodgers is now a New York Jet. Did you see one team or the other come out of this victorious, or did you see it as a pretty fair trade?
Well, I mean, I think for the situation that they're in, it ends up being a pretty fair trade. It was obvious. I don't know if I can remember another situation in NFL history where a trade has not taken place yet the player involved is literally speaking about the other team ahead of time and planning to be there, and behind the scenes, executives with the team are telling their fan base, don't worry, he's coming, all before a trade even takes place. Kind of a wild and unique scenario. So the Packers are not in the spot where they could demand a whole lot there. And so, in terms of the situation, I thought it was fair. As for who wins the deal, in the end, obviously it's the Jets. They got the good player, and they're now one of the top 7 Super Bowl favorites. You pair him with that defense and a cool young receiving core, they really could be interesting in what is turning itself into an absolute juggernaut of a division over there. So that's that's who wins the deal. The Packers now, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that offense with no depth and no experience at receiver, and now to say the same out of the quarterback position. Maybe Jordan Love comes out and really surprises everybody and becomes the next Aaron Rodgers, who had to wait, and then becomes good. But outside of that, it looks like the Packers are heading into a few years potentially of sort of rebooting themselves.
Mark Willard, 95.7 The Game. Willard and Dibbs, 2 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, weekdays out there on 95.7 The Game. One more for you. And Matt Miller, ESPN NFL draft guy, I don't know if you saw this or not, he came up with a 7-round mock draft. I think it was Monday morning. And in the 6th round, he had the 49ers taking NDSU running back, fullback, tight end, jack-of-all-trades guy, Hunter Lipke. And he cited that this is a team that uses fullbacks, uses multiple guys like this, that Hunter's got a really unique skill set. He is very Kyle Juszczyk-like, and Juszczyk currently is, I think, 33, 34 years old, and this would make a lot of sense for them. Do you get the feeling at all that they'd be in the market for a tight end, fullback, running back guy, basically the next Kyle Juszczyk there?
I think that if you look at Bay Area sports from top to bottom, you've got nothing but executives who love Swiss Army knife athletes who can play multiple positions, right? You know, from Draymond Green with the Warriors to the way the Giants are moving their roster. Every single day they've got a guy who's a catcher/left fielder, and the 49ers love it too. Matt Miller knows the Niners well. He's a 49er follower for sure. And so I think what he's saying makes a whole lot of sense. The 49ers love players like that. They do value that kind of positioning on the field. And then furthermore, I'd also say they are at a time where, you know, that Super Bowl-ready roster I mentioned earlier, they also need to start preparing for what's next at a handful of those positions. How many more years does Juszczyk play? How many more years does Trent Williams play? They've got a lot of guys who've been doing this for a long time and still producing, but they got to start getting ready for what's next, and so I could totally see that happening.
Do the Warriors win this series?
I think so. Yeah, but it's like the Kings have obviously shown themselves to be a very, very worthy adversary. The one thing we're all waiting on now, I'll believe it when I see it that De'Aaron Fox doesn't play. I think he will.
Right.
But will he be affected is going to be the question. This now, the pressure shifts back to the Kings. I think the Kings have got to get Game 5, or else the whole thing is over. If they do get it, it still probably ends up in a Game 7 situation, and that's when you throw a feather in the air and just see which way the wind blows that night. But I give the Warriors about a 65% chance to move on.
Seems about right. Mark Willard here with us from 95.7 The Game. Big time out in the Bay Area with the Warriors in a playoff run and a playoff hunt, and obviously the NFL draft a couple of days away, and the Niners one of the favorites for the Super Bowl. Mark, always appreciate our conversations. Thanks for coming on once again. We'll touch up with you again if there's any more news on this Trey Lance front, okay?
Yeah, if something happens, give me a call anytime. Thanks, guys.
There you go. Mark Willard, nice enough to stop by and give us some time on the Epic Companies hotline. How about that, Kyle? We had him on 2-3 months ago max, and he said they're not trading him. He's not going anywhere. I know they like Brock Purdy. Purdy's probably going to be the guy, but they're not trading Trey Lance. He's not going anywhere. And now here we are, and he's probably gone. Most likely, there's a chance he's legitimately getting shopped right now.
Well, yeah, I thought that was I'm glad we had Mark on. I thought that was a very interesting conversation in terms of, I think if you asked him, you'd probably put it at least 60-40, maybe even 70-30 right, that they're going to trade him, which I've started off the show saying I don't think they're going to. I still assumed that this would kind of be an open competition. I know they like Brock Purdy, and they've come out and said like this is his team, he deserves the right. But it's just such a small sample size, but I do get his point. When he talk, and I thought it was a point well taken when you talk about the veterans in the room, and this is a roster that's ready to win a Super Bowl, kind of like the Jets we were talking about, but even the 49ers more so because they've been there. Like, this is a roster ready to win a Super Bowl, and so if you have a guy that you've won games with and you have a guy that you really like but has been injured and hasn't proven it yet, then you might have to go with the guy that you've won some games with. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. Obviously, I think the upside with Trey is much higher than Brock Purdy, but if you're in terms of you just want to win right now and you don't have time to wait, I guess it kind of makes sense.
It's a risky move, and Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have been able to skirt by criticism that they could have gotten because they've won. You trade up basically to draft Trey, you give up all this capital, and There probably could have been some questions asked then of like, "Ooh, that's a lot. Are you sure about this dude that played at the FCS?" Those are some questions that got thrown around, but they won, and they won with Jimmy Garoppolo, and it was all good because we were winning games. And then this year, they're not able to trade Jimmy Garoppolo, and you end up losing Jimmy G for nothing. You lose him, you don't get anything but a compensatory pick, and probably could have been some criticism about that, like, "Hey, you guys held on to him too much. You overplayed your hand. You didn't get anything for him." But at the end of the day, they won. They won a lot of games. Obviously, they needed Jimmy last year, too, because of Trey going down. And now if you trade Trey, let's just throw this hypothetical out, that Trey Lance gets traded here in the next couple of days. And all of a sudden, Brock Purdy, who we thought was great, takes a big step back. And at the end of the day, he was a 7th-round pick. He was Mr. Irrelevant, right? And it's a small sample size. Let's say some teams go into the tape and they figure something out about Brock Purdy, how to fluster him a little bit. Just they figure something out, and he's not as good of a quarterback. And you feel like you're back at square one, and you traded away the guy you gave up 3 picks for, 3 firsts.
Yep.
I mean, you can keep winning, right? And winning cures all, but, boy, there'd be a lot of criticism. And there should be, that you gave up. So you got to be sure. If you're going to trade Trey, you have to be absolutely, positively sure this was not a flash in the pan. This was not like the karmic convergence, all the stars aligned. This is not because Deebo Samuel is good and Christian McCaffrey is good and George Kittle is good. We're doing this because Brock Purdy is good. He has to be good. He has to be a difference maker. He can't just be the sum of all the parts around him. Otherwise, you cannot make this move if you're the 49ers, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think it's very risky. And what if that exact scenario that you just laid out happens and they get a 3rd-round pick for Trey? Or a 4th, whatever. There's been different things thrown around. I don't think they would do that, as Mark just said. But let's just say they do. They get a 3rd-round pick. You gave up 3 first-round picks for him. You never even really gave him a chance, not really to fault of your own, but because of some injuries, you never really got a chance. And then you gave up on him. You go with a guy who was the last pick in the draft who had a good half a season, and then he turns out to not be the guy. I don't want to say, in a normal situation, those are the types of things that get you fired because of the success that the 49ers have. I don't think it would get them fired, but that would be a little dicey, and that's why I agree with you. I think it is a risk. It's putting a lot of pressure on Brock Purdy to be that guy.
Absolutely is. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens over the next couple of days, and even after that. Let's say that they hold on to Trey through the draft. Doesn't mean they can't trade him in this offseason either. Once they're sure that Brock Purdy's going to be back, that could be a thing. Maybe he stays in San Francisco. I still probably think he's going to end up with the 49ers at the end of the day and staying out there, and maybe he starts week 1 or week 2. But having Sam Darnold as well is definitely an aspect that makes it a little bit different. When you got that guy out there, you feel like if you have to have it, he can start a game or 2 for you before Brock Purdy gets healthy. Like, there is some legitimacy to why they brought Sam Darnold into that organization as well.
Yeah, and I think the point Mark made too is like his value in terms of what you're going to get in for a trade for Trey is only going to go down if he sits as a backup for half a season or whatever right up until the trade deadline, and then you try to deal him to another team. Well, now teams are going to say, well, we're going to give you what we'd get for a backup quarterback. They might not see him as, okay, this guy was a 3rd overall pick a couple of years ago. It just continues to go down. So I think that also makes sense why they're trying to make this move now, if they're going to make it.
Yeah, difficult position to be in. That is no doubt out there in San Francisco. But they are winning at the end of the day. Had a lot of success with that franchise out there with Mr. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. We'll take a break. We'll come back. A little preview. Bison baseball game day today. Bison looking to even up the season series with the Gophers. Give you a preview of this one when we come back next here on Bison 1660.
This is the Insiders on your home for NDSU sports. Bison 1660.
We take great pride in really doing all the research and the work behind the scenes to make sure that our products just work.
We have our own staff member that helps pick the hybrids and the varieties that work in our area. It's meant for you, not for somebody 200 miles away.
We test our seed locally. We produce our seed locally, so we get to see our production fields, where they need to be, and if they work there.
Need seed? Think ProSeed. ProSeed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
Hi, I'm Grant Nelson, NDSU Bison basketball player. Whether it's playing basketball or driving in my car, I want to do everything to the best of my ability, on the court and off the court. So when I'm in the car, I up my game with the Drive for Less program from Nodak Insurance. I could save up to 30% on my premium just for driving safely. To me, that's a slam dunk. Download the Nodak Insurance app today.
WeFest fans, listen up! April 25th marks 100 days until WeFest. To kick off the countdown, WeFest is offering a mega bundle deal that saves you $100. Get 4 GA tickets, 4 camp access passes, and a campsite. Remember, this offer is only available for 48 hours on April 25th and 26th. Don't miss out on the WeFest mega bundle and save $100 April 25th and 26th only. Tickets and info at WeFest.com. WeFest, August 3rd through the 5th in Detroit Lakes. Brought to you by Outlet Recreation and Miller Lite.
In 1953, Bill Samuels created a simple bourbon, while Margie Samuels worked on her creative vision. A bottle hand-dipped in red wax, wrapped in a hand-cut label, filled with handcrafted bourbon that elevated flavor and remains unchanged as of today. Aromas of woody oak, caramel, and vanilla, with a taste that is sweet and balanced with caramel, vanilla, and fruity essences. Every barrel of Maker's Mark is aged to taste, not time. Maker's Mark, the star of your home bar. Please drink responsibly.
Pick your payment, pick your price at the Gateway Clearance Center. Over 300 pre-owned vehicles in stock, with vehicles for every budget starting at just $1,499 or payments as low as $99 per month. All vehicles are inspected by Gateway certified mechanics. Shop the bigger, better selection of clean used vehicles today. Pick your payment, pick your price only at Gateway Clearance Center, 2302 South University Drive in Fargo, or online at fmclearancecenter.com.
Are you a great electrician working for a company with a bad reputation? You deserve better. You deserve Rick Electric. In business for nearly 60 years and voted best electrical contractor in the Red River Valley 2022. Rick Electric is hiring journeyman electricians, apprentices, and service tech electricians today. Year-long full-time employment, employer-paid full family health care, paid holidays, and 2 weeks paid vacation. You deserve to work for the best, and that's Rick Electric. To apply, send an email to info@rickelectric.com.
Choosing a new vehicle should be fun, especially when you choose a new Nissan. Built solid, yet sleek and sporty, and never boring. That's what a new Nissan Pathfinder SV all-wheel drive is, and right now you can lease one for just $299 a month, or a new Rogue all-wheel drive for just $199 a month, both with comfy zero-gravity seats. If it's great fuel economy you're looking for, drive a new Nissan Sentra for just $199 a month, with up to 39 miles per gallon. Gateway Nissan has a great selection right now, so stop by for a test drive. Details FargoNissan.com.
The clock's changed, which means the change of seasons is next. Is your air conditioner ready? Don't wait until it's too late to get it checked off your list. Let the professionals at Valley Service Mechanical help. Make your appointment now for your annual air conditioner tune-up to ensure you can enjoy the upcoming warm weather and comfort. It's no sweat with Valley Service Mechanical when your heating and cooling needs help and your plumbing is on the fritz. Call Valley Service Mechanical, 701-293-5701. Online at valleyservice.net.
Bison 1660.
Got a feeling it's probably from a movie. This is the theme that Micah Bindi was talking about earlier in the show.
It's kind of a sad, depressing theme.
Yeah, these are very sad songs. Sad movies. At least,
Sounds like Adele
A Star is
again.
Born is very sad.
Is this Adele again?
Yep, Adele again.
Oh, wow.
I
don't know it.
Adele Tuesday.
I have no idea, but I was like, it sounds like Adele.
It's in a James Bond movie, hint.
Oh, I do love James Bond. I got no idea.
No idea.
It's the name of a James Bond movie.
That's GoldenEye?
Casino Royale.
Skyfall?
Ah.
Okay, there you go. I'm not as read up on James Bond. Are you a big James Bond movie guy, Kyle?
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I used to
neither
play
am I.
GoldenEye on Nintendo 64
Mhm.
like 30 years, well, not 30, 20 years ago.
There's an old 007 spy game on like an original PlayStation as well. I've played that before.
Yeah.
But other than that, not really a huge James Bond guy.
He got us. I'll take the half a point, though. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Micah.
It's Andy Rickoff and Kyle Emmanuel, with us on the Insiders here on Bison 1660, and Micah Bindi running things for you behind the board. I'll be back in the studio tomorrow, so we're looking forward to being back on the Horse Cam tomorrow. You can watch all of our shows live on our Facebook page via the Horse Cam, Bison 1660 there on Facebook. You can comment as well there on our Facebook live stream of every show. Horsch, farming with passion, online at horsch.com. And Kyle inside the Tharaldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Tharaldson Ethanol produces 175 million gallons of ethanol per year, but they also do a great job of reducing their carbon footprint by capturing, transporting, and permanently storing CO2 emissions. To learn more about how Tharaldson Ethanol reduces their carbon footprint, go online to tharaldsonethanol.com. We do also have our NFL Draft show coming up for you on Thursday night. I just talked about the NFL Draft a little bit there with Mark Willard, but we'll have our NFL Draft Night show Thursday night, 7 p.m., live at Sicky's Garage off 45th Street, their newer location. It's where we were for the Insiders all year long during the football season. Coming out for it, starts at 7 p.m. We'll be with you till probably right around that 10 p.m. mark. Not only can you watch the NFL Draft with us, the first round, and see, do the Vikings make a crazy move? Do they trade up to the top 10 and actually do something like that to take a quarterback? Do they trade back? Does Cody Mount go in the first round? Where does Trey Lance get traded? We can watch all of that and react to it live with you. But you can also register to win one of 3 $100 gift cards, giving away 3 $100 Visa gift cards for you. You can spend anywhere, all at once or separately, whatever you want to do. 3 $100 Visa gift cards, and also 2 tickets to the NDSU football season opener, U.S. Bank Stadium against Eastern Washington. 2 tickets to U.S. Bank Stadium to see the Bison kick off the 2023 season. Giving all of that away at our NFL Draft Show Thursday night at Sicky's Garage. Make sure you stop on out there. It's going to be a fun time. Always great for the NFL Draft, but now we got some great prizes. We want to interact with the fans as well. So make sure you're out there. You got to be present. You got to go out and at least put your name in the bucket to try and win those prizes. So if you want 2 tickets to the season opener, make sure you're at Sicky's Garage off 45th Street, 7 p.m. on Thursday night for our NFL Draft Show. It is a Bison game day today as NDSU baseball will be taking on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. First pitch right around that 6 p.m. mark. We'll be going live for you right around 5:45 for our pregame show. Getting you ready for first pitch down here at Siebert Field between the Bison and the Gophers. Game number 2 of the season between these two squads. The Gophers won the first one 12-9 back on April 11th. And the Bison and the Gophers have played a number of times over the years. This is actually going to be the 44th all-time meeting between NDSU and Minnesota. Dates back all the way to 1964. The Bison have won 2 of the last 3 meetings. They dropped that one back earlier this year, but won the 2 previously to that. And overall, this is a Minnesota team that holds an edge 31-12 over NDSU, but been very competitive, very back and forth over the last handful of years. And with the pitching on the mound, I think the Bison have the horses to be competitive in this game. The first time these two teams faced, it was Max Lovin that got the start, but it was really a shortened start. He only got 2 innings, and they kind of patched it together. That's what these midweek games are usually for. I don't think Max Lovin's going to get the start tonight. I could be wrong on that one, but I think they'll go with somebody else to give them some length maybe out of the starting rotation and then patch things together as well through the bullpen. That's probably what both teams will do. It's what you tend to do in these midweek games. And you think the Bison will save Cade Feeney, Max Lovin, Tristan Rorich, who's been phenomenal, by the way. Save those guys probably for this weekend series with Western Illinois, which is currently scheduled to be at Newman Outdoor Field, and we'll have it for you here on Bison 1660 if they're playing those games this weekend. Very much hope they are. Looking forward to it. But hopefully we can get those games in against the Leathernecks at Newman Outdoor Field Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will have the head coach, Tyler Oakes, on the program tomorrow. He'll be on with us at, I believe, 11:30. We'll stop by and we'll get an update on the field conditions and what they expect there. And hopefully tomorrow we'll be recapping a win over the Golden Gophers. It would be great to come down here and get a win over this Big Ten squad. You know what these games are like, Kyle. Like for football, you face Kansas State, you face Nebraska, you face Minnesota. Like these are big games for these kids.
Yeah, they really are, and I think it's kind of cool. Like you said, it's the midweek game, so kind of in between some of these series. Now NDSU went through a really tough non-conference schedule. Kind of found their footing a little bit, going 7-5 so far in conference play, as you've mentioned before many times. They've won a number of times. They've won a number of those series as well. Almost able to squeak out the series victory against Oral Roberts. But yes, this is always big. I think Minnesota. it's hard to call them a rivalry because, they play in the Big Ten, they're in the FBS and football, but it seems a little bit like that. When you have as many kids from Minnesota that play here at NDSU that oftentimes get overlooked by the Gophers, it's always going to be a big-time matchup, and I'm looking forward to it.
I really am too. You get these two teams out here. We'll see what they throw out for a starting pitcher. I haven't been told that one quite yet, so looking forward to that. But overall, I think for NDSU, the issue this year when they've had trouble, it's been in those close games, right? And you've brought that up when we've had Coach on before. Last year, a lot of the 1- and 2-run games were going NDSU's way. Right now, through 37 games, NDSU has played in 15 games, a little less than half, that have been decided by 2 runs or less. NDSU is 4-11 in those 15 games. So you got to find a way to win the close ones, win the low-scoring games as well. I don't know if this one will be particularly low-scoring. From what I can tell, a little bit of a win. Could be seeing some long balls tonight as well, some home runs. So we'll see what happens there. But the Bison have not fared well this season in those close contests decided by a run or 2. But NDSU, one thing they've done, or a couple things they've done really well offensively, they've had some great pitchers. The bullpen's starting to come around a little bit. Skylar Riedinger has been really good out of the pen for him lately. But they're hitting home runs, and they're stealing bases. 2 things that are very exciting, maybe the 2 most exciting things for fans out there when you see a home run or you see someone take off, try and steal a base. But the Bison have 56 stolen bases this season. That's second in the Summit League, and they've logged at least 1 stolen base in 29 of their 37 games this season. Caden Schwabe is slotted second in the Summit League right now. He has 17 stolen bases on the year, which is also 10th on the all-time single-season list for NDSU. And last year, the Bison set a program record with 87 stolen bases in a season. So a little bit behind that pace right now for sure, but still stealing a lot of bases. And they're hitting plenty of home runs. 40 home runs on the year right now, third in the Summit League. 9 different players as well have hit at least one of them, so it's not just a couple of guys. 9 different players have sent one over the fence. Peter Brookshaw leading the way in that category. He has a career-high 9 home runs this season. Last year, the Bison were second in league play. They had 50 home runs all of last season, which was 5th on the NDSU single-season list. They got a chance. They can keep the bats going, and as the temperature warms up, you tend to get more balls sent out of the park. They got a good chance to break the numbers slotted from last year's program when they got 50 last year, already at 40 this year.
Yeah, and they're taking advantage of those new rules a little bit, Andy, with the I guess it's not
right.
New to college baseball necessarily, but with the pitch clock. And we talked about this when we were talking about with our MLB coverage, and teams are moving more. They're taking advantage. You can only throw over a number of times, and as you said, NDSU, with 56 stolen bases already this year.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens in this one. Again, 6 p.m. first pitch. We'll go live for you around 5:45 for the pregame show. We'll have a conversation with Tyler Oakes on that pregame show, and the head coach will join us tomorrow on the program. One cool kind of career mark, I think we mentioned this last week, but a little while back, Peter Brookshaw started his 200th game at NDSU. He has now started all 204 games that he has appeared in 5 seasons at NDSU. Every game where he has played, he's been a starter on the diamond. A pretty remarkable feat right there. Brookshaw currently ranks tied for 5th in games played and 5th in games started in Bison history at 204, and he's also totaled a team-high 47 hits this season and reached 200 career hits in his career, a career milestone for him at 200 hits, and 220 hits position him 5th all-time at NDSU. Peter Brookshaw, one of the all-time greats here for the Bison. Let's take our final break of the program here. We'll break. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up for you here on this split-screen edition of The Insiders and get you ready for Wednesday's show as well. The Insiders, as always, brought to you by Proceed, home of the Right Choice and Right Stuff programs, online at proceed.net. If you need seed, think Proceed.
A sports talk station that Bison Nation deserves. Bison 1660.
Horn Plastics is celebrating 40 years of top quality products and service. And to show their appreciation, they're offering some unbeatable deals. Now until May 31st, get 40% off all install labor and 20% off select materials. Take advantage of this limited time offer and upgrade with the high performance trailer and dump truck body liner, including the popular Super Slide bed liners. Don't miss out on these amazing savings. Visit hornplastics.com today. Horn Plastics, excellence for 40 3 years and counting.
Ram Truck Month is going on now at Corwin Ram, and the deals are hot. Drive off in a new 2023 Ram 1500 Bighorn 4x4 with financing as low as 1.9% and up to $6,500 off in rebates. That's right, financing as low as 1.9% and up to $6,500 off a new Ram 1500 Bighorn. This workhorse of a truck has the power and towing capacity to get any job done. Shop Corwin Ram's big selection of in-stock inventory now and save. Online, corwinauto.com.
Every job ad is the same. Great pay, great benefits. It's the greatest job in the world. Yeah, right. At Royal Electric, they have that too. But if you want more out of your career, apply to become a journeyman electrician. Notice how none of those other job ads talk about freedom? As a journeyman with Royal Electric, you won't be micromanaged. You'll work 4 days a week and get a $3,500 sign-on bonus. Small team, big projects to keep you busy. Royal Electric, more than just competitive pay and great benefits. Apply now at royalelectricnd.com.
When it's time to find a realtor, word of mouth is important. And Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty is a name Bison Nation says often. Todd has helped everyone from coaches and administrators to broadcasters and former players and their families buy homes in the FM area. So many in Bison Nation trust Todd to buy and sell their homes, and you can too. Call Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty today or visit him at 4832 Amber Valley Parkway in Fargo. Todd is a proud partner and the preferred realtor of NDSU Athletics. Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty, moving the herd one home at a time.
In 1953, Bill Samuels created a simple bourbon, while Margie Samuels worked on her creative vision. A bottle hand-dipped in red wax, wrapped in a hand-cut label, filled with handcrafted bourbon that elevated flavor and remains unchanged as of today. Aromas of woody oak, caramel, and vanilla, with a taste that is sweet and balanced with caramel, vanilla, and fruity essences. Every barrel of Maker's Mark is aged to taste, not time. Maker's Mark, the star of your home bar. Please drink responsibly.
If there's one thing I know about farmers, it's that they are resilient. This is Scott Zolandic with Cornerstone Bank. Farmers are known to rise to ever-changing challenges, whether it be higher land prices and rent costs, risk management, or diversification. Cornerstone Bank offers an experienced team that you can turn to. If you're looking to save, borrow, or spend, Cornerstone Bank will find the best financial options for business, ag operations, and your personal needs. Come see us at Cornerstone Bank.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Looking to add some light and brighten up the inside of your home? Maybe you have an outdoor project or you're looking to update in the garage. Then the team at JDP Electric should be your first and only phone call. JDP Electric makes the process easy. Their dedicated team of professionals can assist with any size project or idea you may have, and even provide a few ideas they see that fit your budget as well. Don't mess with the electricity. Make sure to call in the pros. Call 701-232-1991 today to experience the JDP difference.
Gateway Chevrolet's lot is loaded with new Chevy Silverados. Check out the new Silverados that are more versatile, more powerful, and the best-looking truck with more technology and safety benefits than any other truck in the market. Plus, find out about 0% financing on Chevy Silverados. Or if you're thinking about a new SUV, think about a new Chevy Equinox for a safe, reliable, and affordable all-wheel drive SUV with 1.9% financing. Take a test drive today at Gateway Chevrolet. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
Rick Astley.
Never going to give you up.
Half point each.
Yes.
I couldn't think of the artist right away. It's good to get on there.
I was going to say Never Gonna Give You. I didn't know if that was the actual name of the song. You were right. That one was easy.
Yeah, Micah told us that before. It was like, this one's easy. I would not have gotten Rick Astley for probably a little bit. Might have gotten it by now, but didn't have that right away. So I'll take the split. You know, this is really a road game for me because I'm not on site. So, you know, when you're on the road, you just want to split when you're on the road. So I'll take the split there at the end.
Yeah, I think you're still down overall, but that's fine.
Well, yeah, but at the end, you know, it leaves with a good taste in my mouth at the very least. Here from Minneapolis, Minnesota, as we got Bison baseball tonight. Again, 6 p.m., 5:45 first pitch. By the way, that NFL draft show I was telling you about, 7 p.m. Thursday. Make sure you come on out. Enjoy the NFL draft with us live at Sicky's Garage off 45th Street. Your chance to win one of 3 $100 gift cards or to win 2 tickets to NDSU versus Eastern Washington at U.S. Bank Stadium. All that Thursday night. It's brought to you by Royal Jewelers and Jim Beam. Big thanks to Royal Jewelers for sponsoring it, and Jim Beam as well. Great stuff there from both of those sponsors, and we'll have some giveaways as well. Not just the ones I mentioned, but other prizes and some freebies you can take away. Plus, you got the great burgers, the great brews, everything else happening there at Sicky's Garage. Tomorrow on the program, I already mentioned one of the guests that we're going to have on, is Tyler Oakes will join us to recap the game tonight and look forward to the weekend series. It's supposed to be at home against against Western Illinois. I got Eastern Washington on the brain. Against the Leathernecks of Western Illinois. But also, tomorrow on the program, can I get a drum roll sound effect here, Mike? I think this guy deserves a drum roll sound effect. So tomorrow on the program at noon, via the Epic Companies hotline, will be none other than Cody Mauch. Will stop by tomorrow on the program. Obviously, a day away at that point from basically his life being changed. He could be a first-round draft pick. What he is feeling, what he is going through, and get his thoughts a day away from the NFL draft. That's going to be pretty special, and looking forward to having Cody on the program tomorrow.
I thought you were going to say cold jerk, and I was going to be very let down. Just a huge letdown.
Well, I wouldn't let the folks down like that.
Yeah,
I mean, I've let them down before, but not that way. I mean, we'll have them on Thursday night. That's enough cold jerk for everybody during our NFL draft show. But Cody Mauch tomorrow. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, I'm excited. That's a great get. I think there's. I was not expecting or even thinking there was a possibility to be called in the first round, but I can only imagine. I can't imagine. The thoughts, the emotions, all the feelings going through his mind. I know he's going to have a nice little gathering down there in his hometown, get everyone in the community involved, so it's going to be an exciting weekend for him.
I think you've told us this before. What were you doing during round one, the year you got drafted? Because you weren't expecting to go in round.
No, I wasn't expecting. I still wanted to watch it, obviously. So, yeah, I think it was actually we set up a TV on my parents' patio. We were outside watching it.
Okay.
Weather's a little nicer down there in Nebraska. So, yeah, I was just at home doing the same thing I did on Saturday when I heard my name called.
Okay, fair enough. There you go. And looking forward to seeing if Cody gets his name called, where he could go. I would still love it if he would obviously go into the first round. I think there's a couple of teams. I think all teams could use good offensive linemen, clearly. But some teams that, I feel like they have the ability just to take a best player or maybe go and target some offensive linemen. I think of a team that's maybe on the cusp of being a really good playoff contender like Seattle. You need to keep Geno Smith upright. Do they get into the back end of the first round, or do they go early second round, trade up and go get somebody like Cody? I think Seattle could make some sense. I think the Vikings make a ton of sense. They don't have a second round pick. Maybe they have to trade back in the first and maybe take Cody at the end of the first, or they find a second round pick and take Cody there. I think it would make sense to try and protect Kirk Cousins as best you can, since he is currently at least the starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. And there's a couple other teams for sure out there that I think Cody would fit on, but those are a couple that come off the top of the head to me, at least, for Cody.
Well, and I think what we all need to be rooting for is a bunch of offensive line. I would say tackles, but I think Cody can kind of fit both, depending on what you're looking at, but a bunch of offensive linemen to come off early. Because if the offensive linemen start to slide, now some of those that were maybe projected a little bit higher, now they go late in the first round, and everyone else kind of gets pushed back a little bit. So I think we need to root for offensive linemen going early and often.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have the first lineman being the Bears at 9, being the first offensive lineman taken. If you can get one that's higher than that, and they start going a little bit earlier, especially if you get an interior lineman, because I think that's where most NFL teams kind of project Cody to play, is at that offensive guard or maybe even center position. If one of the top interior linemen goes in the teens, the late teens, early 20s, maybe another one goes in the mid 20s, that's when teams would be like, okay, there's not many of those guys left. We got to go get Mauch right now and go up and get him if we think he's a difference maker. So definitely looking forward to seeing if the linemen are going early, as you say, because there tends to be like streaks, right? Like, okay, 5 receivers in the last 7 picks, or 5 offensive linemen in the last 8 picks have gone, or cornerbacks. There's always those runs on positions, so that's a good point you bring up. We're definitely looking to see offensive linemen go off the board early on in the NFL draft. We did talk Aaron Rodgers trade in the first segment of the show, actually the second segment of the show earlier today. If you missed that, we both kind of think it's pretty fair value overall what the Jets gave up to get Rodgers and what the Packers got back in that deal. But let's go back to the Packers side of this quickly before we end the show here, Kyle. This is obviously a very big move. You're moving off of Aaron Rodgers, a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're going to be going with Jordan Love this next season. But you had a good point, I thought, that this is not like a trial season for Jordan Love. He's sat for 3 years. This is going into year number 4. They have 1 year to decide if they want to go fifth-year option on the bid, I think. Maybe not even a full year to decide that. I don't know how that exactly works. But you don't have a lot of time here. This is not going to be the typical, we draft a quarterback, we're giving him 3-4 years. I think if he doesn't have success, and let's say he's pretty mediocre and the Packers win like 7-8 games or something like that, the interesting thing about that conditional second that could be a first for the Packers next year from the Jets, and I think it will end up being a first, that would give the Packers 2 first-round picks. They'd have the ammo they would need to trade up and get one of those young quarterbacks in next year's draft. So I think this really is a huge year for Jordan Love, because if he doesn't have a great year, there's no 2, 3, 4 year trial period here for Jordan Love.
Well, yeah, the talks are going to start, right? I think you're spot on. I think even if they have like an average year but they miss the playoffs, if they get into the playoffs, I think he's safe. Yeah, obviously, they'll extend him for a 5th year. They'll give him another chance. But if it's an average year and it's average because of him, maybe the defense plays well, the running game's working, but they just can't get things going in the passing game. He's turning the ball over. Whether he likes it or not, whether the Packers like it or not, people in the media are going to start asking the question. Are the Packers going to be? Are they looking to trade up? Are they going to make a move? What are they going to do? Now, we are talking about an organization. Granted, they were both Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but that has had 2 quarterbacks in the last 25 years, whatever it is, a long time. They've basically had 2 quarterbacks. So you would assume, I would think the Packers are a little bit more patient than maybe some other organizations throughout the NFL, but what does that look like? What does 2023 look like, and how patient are you willing to be? Are you going to extend him? And that's my opinion in terms of, I don't think this is like a rookie quarterback, like it's not a long leash, but do the Packers feel that way? Or do they really feel like, okay, we need to get him a year just to go through the ups and downs, the bumps and bruises of the NFL season, and go from there, and let him really try and figure this thing out on the fly a little bit? Or are they saying, no, you've had your time, you need to perform now?
And I think that's the way it's going to be. You have to perform now. And what's interesting about the Packers is, you mentioned, it's been Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. It's not just been 2 quarterbacks. It's been 2 Hall of Famers, 2 legendary ones, 2 of the best to maybe ever do it, top 10 to ever do it type of quarterbacks. We talk about this with NDSU football sometimes, like, we're spoiled. Maybe expectations are a little bit crazy. We're like, okay, we went to a national championship last year but didn't win it, and everyone's like, this was a terrible year. It was an awful season. Worst thing that ever happened. Fire coaches, right? We get those calls on the postgame show all the time on Bison Hotline. Well, if you're Jordan Love and you're good, if you're like kind of Kirk Cousins-ish, we're like, oh, you're good, but you're not great, and that's not good enough, right? Like, Packers fans' expectations are you're Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. That's what they have to live up to now. It's crazy.
He's got to show something, right? And it might not necessarily equate to wins. It might not equate to winning the division, but you got to show something where you're excited about him. And even if maybe there's some turnovers, but like, oh man, look at some of the plays he's making. Look at this game. Look at that game. Yeah, he had some bad games, but like, there's got to be enough there, I think, right away in year 1 for them to feel comfortable moving forward with him.
Going to be crazy. Looking forward to seeing what happens there on Thursday. Again, Bison baseball tonight, 6 p.m., 5:45 pregame, Bison and the Golden Gophers. That will do it for us today. Coming up next, it's Colin Cowherd, The Herd, and Fox Sports Radio.
Farmers Mutual of Nebraska is local insurance built on teamwork and strength, with a service team dedicated to helping policyholders protect what matters most and the strength of over 130 years of industry knowledge.